walking you through how to get started with Airtable and how to create your own custom portfolio management tool. The question window will be up in a few minutes. Feel free to ask questions throughout the webinar, and we will select some to answer at the end. If your questions don't get answered, don't worry. You can always email support@airtable.com or visit support.airtable.com to check out our comprehensive help center. My name is Emily, and I'm a customer success manager at Airtable, and I'm so excited to be joining you today. We'll start with the agenda, just so you all know what to expect from today's time. We'll start with the question, what is Airtable? Probably the most important one. And then we'll talk through how you can get started and the steps you can take to begin customizing Airtable for your team. During this section, we'll dive into how Airtable can be used for portfolio management, and we'll walk through an example base to highlight Airtable's value. Last but definitely not least, we'll cover some additional resources that are available as you continue to learn more about the platform after today. First, what is Airtable? Airtable is a flexible, collaborative, and powerful database that you can customize to your team's needs. With Airtable, you have the building blocks to organize, manage, and create your way. We know that your team has a unique process, and your tool should reflect that. Airtable empowers you to build tools completely custom to your needs and goals. When you're first getting started, you can take a look at these example base templates we've built at airtable.com/templates. We have a variety of use cases here, so definitely take a look for inspiration. You can even use one of these bases as a starting point for your own customization. You can also see real-life examples of how companies and users have taken Airtable and customized it to their team's needs at airtable.com/universe. Our users here have opted into sharing what they've built to inspire our wider community and help them show what's possible. Today we'll be covering how to use Airtable for portfolio management. Whether your team manages a handful of portfolios or hundreds at once, you and your team can customize a portfolio management hub unique to your specific process. We will cover the day-to-day management of portfolios, as well as the creation of reporting that typically comes with this use case. Instead of working in silos across different docs, calendars, or emails, you can now create a single source of truth that works for the entire team directly in Airtable. Before we start walking through the steps to customize your base, I wanted to walk you through some of the terminology and concepts that will be helpful as we're getting started. When you first create an account and access airtable.com, you will see your workspaces. You can think of workspaces as an organizational unit or foldering system that contains a collection of your bases. Your bases are these colorful icons here, and they're our affectionate name for a database. Within each base, we recommend including content that is related to a single workflow or team. Today, we will have a base dedicated to our portfolio management workflow for a company called Table Air, a fake company that produces self-assembling tables. It's very futuristic. Once you click on the base icon, your base will expand to show the base portion as well as the Blocks platform on the right. We'll go into more detail about the Blocks platform later in the webinar. This is going to be really powerful as we talk about reporting back on all of our portfolio information. When you open up your base, you'll see a few tables here at the top. Each table contains a different part of your workflow. In this example, first we have campaigns, tasks to bring the campaign to reality, the assets needed for each campaign, and the team that brings those campaigns to life. Within our tables, we hold different details about the campaigns, tasks, assets, or teams contained in our fields. Within our table, we have records that indicate each campaign. Don't worry if this is new. We'll go over this in more detail as we go, and you'll get to see it all in action. As we mentioned in the last slide, fields contain the different details you'd like to track about the subjects in your base. You have the ability to customize the field type and define what details you want to store. This is one of the most unique points of Airtable. You're able to standardize and customize the information you're capturing. Some of the most popular field types that our users love are the date field, attachment field, long text, single select, and URL fields. We'll get to see those in action later. Each row or record in the grid ties to one unique campaign in this example here. For ours, and what we'll see later, we'll have a new record for each portfolio we're tracking. You can expand the record, which is shown in this screenshot, to see all of the related details, as well as an activity feed on the right that contains revision history and the ability to contextually comment and collaborate with your teammates. We'll dive into this a bit later as well, but you have the ability to link tables together through linked records. This is really powerful when you want to show the relationships in your workflow. At its core, Airtable is a relational database, and linked records are the power behind those relationships. In the example here, each campaign has different tasks needed to bring it to completion, and the linked records are highlighting the relationships between each campaign and its associated tasks. One of the best parts of Airtable, and one of my personal favorites, is there are many ways to look at the same information, and we do this through views. Beyond the grid view, you can visualize your deadlines in a calendar, display your assets in a gallery. This is great if you're a really visual team. You can move projects along a pipeline in a Kanban, or collect structured information in a form directly to your base. You can find your views in your view switcher by clicking on the name of your current view in the upper left-hand corner. Here you'll find a list of all of the existing views that are being used by your team in your workflow. Within each view, you can customize how the information is configured and displayed, allowing you to stay connected to the bigger picture while honing in on the exact information you need to see. For example, if seeing only the active projects is most important for your role, you can create a view that uses a filter to only show the projects marked as active. You can then come back to this view at any point to keep track of all active projects. We will see more views in action during the demo portion of our webinar. Let's get started on customizing a base for your team. To customize your base, we recommend taking the following approach. As a first step, assess your needs. Then we'll think through base design, and finally, we'll build your base. The first step is to assess your needs. Before we start designing and building our base, we recommend taking a step back to understand and identify your team's needs, which will help define what you want to include in the tool you're building. Here are some useful questions to answer together. What is the function of your team? What types of content does your team produce or utilize in your workflow? What are the different stages of your process? Who are the different team members at each stage, as well as different stakeholders? What are the hopes and dreams for your ideal tool? These are all helpful questions because they'll inform us as we customize our base and what the most useful information is to include as we manage our process. As I mentioned in today's example, we'll be creating a portfolio management tool for a fictional company called Table Air, which specializes in self-assembling tables. As a team, they're hoping to track their portfolios, manage them from beginning to end, and report on their progress to their executive team. This includes content such as purchase orders and tasks to be completed. Their portfolios go through a process that has stages of not yet started, some get blocked, some are delayed, as well as being in progress and complete. These will show up as different statuses in the base. The team managing the portfolios includes 2 portfolio managers, 1 senior portfolio manager, and 1 director. In terms of their hopes and dreams, they're looking for a flexible tool that will allow them to manage their portfolios and all of the projects and tasks needed to complete them, and also provide a platform for reporting back to their executive team with insightful visuals like charts and graphs. Walking through the first couple of steps together for Table Air and answering the question, what do we need to track? As a side pro tip, we'd actually recommend writing this out on a whiteboard or a piece of paper to help you visualize your base design. This is going to translate pretty clearly to how we actually architect your base. In our case, we're hoping to track our portfolios, which include details like potentially a description, the projects that fall within each portfolio, a deadline for the portfolio, as well as a status and owner. You'll notice here that projects is circled, and that's because each project also has details we want to track that are specific to it, such as a description on the project, any tasks that need to be done to get the project complete, as well as a deadline, status, and owner. This is a signal that project should have its own table. Similarly, each project has tasks needed in order to complete it, and each task also has important details that we will want to keep track of. Some sample tasks include confirming assignees, confirming deadlines, and also POs. Translating this into how we would structure our base in Airtable, we would want to create 3 separate tables, one tracking portfolios, one tracking projects, and one tracking tasks. We will then link these tables together to show the relationship between each portfolio, project, and task. The yellow circles indicate the subjects we want to keep in a table of their own because they also have important details of their own. In this instance, we may even want another table for assets. Once we have all of the details that we're hoping to track illustrated here, we have like portfolios, projects, and tasks. We now want to map out the relationship between each layer. Here, for each portfolio, we want to link it to all of the projects that fall within the portfolio, and then each project's subsequent tasks. This map is a direct base translation. At the top, we have our tables. Then we have examples of the content we'll store in each table. Now we're ready to build our base together. I'm going to pull up our base now to start. Wonderful. When you're first getting started, you can build a base from scratch. Start from one of our templates or import a spreadsheet. We're going to start by building out a quick example base from scratch so we can walk through the architecture of a portfolio management base together. Then we'll hop over to a more built out workflow to show all of what Airtable can do. Building from scratch here. If you think back to our base map, we had tables for our portfolios, projects, and tasks. So we've added those tables here, and now within each table, we can start customizing it to hold the information we want to track. So we can name our primary field here, the leftmost field, for portfolios, as those are going to be the main subject of this portfolios table. And then each field to the right of that primary field is going to contain details about the specific portfolios. So some important details to track are the launch date, for example. So what I'm going to do here is customize this field because I want it to hold a date. So I'm going to choose Customize Field Type, and I'm going to name this field the Launch Date field. And then from the menu of different field types we have, I'm going to choose a Date field. Once we define that field type, for example, the launch date is a date field, you can click into the cell and you'll see you're only able to add information in that format, so specifically a date format. This really standardizes and streamlines the process of tracking these details. Perhaps we also have a portfolio logo we want to track. So I'm going to customize this field type and call it a logo field. And this one is already an attachment field, which is perfect because that's what we want to use. When you click into the attachment field, you'll see you can add files directly to the base from your computer. You can do it via a link, a web search, or some of these other integrations here. We likely also have a portfolio owner that we want to keep track of, someone who's in charge of the management of the portfolio. For this, we're going to use one of my personal favorite field types, a collaborator field. And this one is great because it allows owners to stay notified when they've been added to a specific portfolio. So collaborators who have been added to the base are eligible to be added as a collaborator here. And once they are, they'll get a notification, as long as this is toggled on, up in the upper right-hand corner and also over email. So if a new collaborator is added to a portfolio, they can hop right in, see that they've been assigned as the owner, click on the record link, and see all of the details specific to that portfolio. I'll go ahead and save this. You can add collaborators to your base by clicking the share icon in the upper right-hand corner here. You can add them by email or by link, and you can also choose the permissions level you'd like for them to have. Once they are added, you'll see a list of the different collaborators here, and you can change their permission status as long as you are the base owner. You'll notice since I'm the only collaborator on this base, I'm the only one who shows up in this drop down here, but that's okay. It's perfect for this example. I think something else that would be great to track is our portfolio status. So let's make a status field here. And for this one, we're going to choose a single select field type. I'm going to fill in a couple example statuses. We'll go with not started, in progress, and complete. And I'm a very visual person, so I like to use color to help me visualize in a moment where the different portfolio statuses might be. So I'm going to go ahead and for not started, choose red. For in progress, choose yellow. And for complete, choose green. The single select field type allows you to predefine your options for content, so you don't have to worry about people writing in different words or in different formats. It's always going to be standardized and the same. They'll be able to choose exactly which status they want from a drop-down menu, which you can see here. Let's fill in some sample information so we can dive even deeper into what Airtable can do. I apologize for my lack of creativity on the fly, but I'm going to name my portfolios 1 through 3. And then I'm going to fill some sample date information in as well. For logos, I'm going to go ahead and add something from the web. I'm going to go with the trusty Airtable logo. Once you find an image you like, you can select it and upload it, and it will be added directly to your field here. As the owner, I'm going to go ahead and assign myself to portfolio 1 and 2. I'll leave off portfolio 3. And we'll say portfolio 1 is in progress, same with portfolio 2, and portfolio 3 has not yet been started. Go ahead and drag and drop this down. Great. Now, once you have all the details filled in, I want to show you that you can actually expand your record. So we saw a screenshot of this in the slides earlier. So you can expand the record and actually see all of the details here that we just filled in. So from this, you can actually make any changes, as well as see the activity feed, which shows the revision history on the right. You can also contextually comment. So if I wanted to ask a teammate a question, and it'll just be me for now, but I'll ask myself, what's the update? And when I hit enter, Emily would get a notification that she's been added and commented to in a record, and she can hop right back in, see exactly what's going on, as well as all the details specific to that portfolio, and make a response. Now that we have all of the information here, we want to make sure that we're looking at it in a way that's most impactful for us, and we'll do that using our views. So right now we're seeing all of our portfolios. So views are essentially different ways of looking at the exact same information, but with your custom configuration. So for example, let's say that I only want to see my portfolios, Emily's portfolios. I'm going to go ahead and create a new view. And I'm going to create a new grid view. I'll call it Emily's portfolios. And I'm going to go ahead and add a filter where I am the owner. And it will automatically filter out any portfolios where I have not been designated as an owner. All of the portfolios are still available in the table. You can see them here in all portfolios. They're just not going to show up in my specific view because I only want to see the information that's most important to me to get my job done. And maybe this is even too much. Maybe I want to hide some of the information here because I personally don't need to see the logo. So I'm going to hide that field, and now I only see even the details that are important to me. You can also group your records to cluster them by the main characteristics they have. I really like grouping mine by status. And now if I were to change the status of one of these portfolios, say let's say portfolio 1 is actually complete, it will be moved and the clusters will stick together based on what status they have. This is a super easy way to at a glance see which portfolio falls in which bucket. If you make a change in your view, so you noticed I went ahead and changed that to complete, and you come back to all portfolios, you'll notice that change did flow through to the other views as well. So portfolio 1 is now marked as complete. You can also expand the record here, and you'll see that the status has been updated to complete. So you again can track that revision history as well. In addition to creating a new grid view, you can also create other views like calendar, Kanban, gallery. These are all really great views to reference. And then a form view is a really great way to collect structured information directly to your base. So we'll go through all of them. I'm going to start with calendar. We'll create a new calendar view here, and you'll see it automatically asks us if we want to track launch dates. You'll notice you have the option to select an end date, which is great if you want to track durations instead of just individual plotted dates. You also have the option to plot multiple dates as opposed to just one if you're on the Pro plan. So let's say we want to track our launch dates. We can go ahead and save that here, and you'll see them all plotted. What's really great about this is you can drag and drop the dates here, and it will dynamically update the date and again flow through the rest of your views as well. You'll notice if you expand the record, the launch date has been updated to June 12th from June 14th. All of the expanded record details are available in any view, so you don't have to worry that you have to go back to the grid view to find it. It's all available right here. You can also color code them. So let's say, again, I want to be able to at a glance see what status we're at with each portfolio. You can go ahead and color code it by a specific condition or a select field, such as status. So I can automatically see which ones have not been started, which ones are in progress, and which are complete. You can also share each view using a read-only link to other team members who might not be actively working in your base quite yet. So note here that you can restrict access with a password or to an email domain if you're on the Pro plan. When you create this link, you can use it to give external stakeholders a link that they can continue to reference to keep everyone aligned, even folks who are outside of your direct team. It's also nice because those links dynamically refresh. So if you were to update the information here, the link would dynamically refresh, and they would always see the most up-to-date information as well. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and check out one of my favorite views, which is the gallery view. So I'm going to come back up to our view switcher and choose gallery. This is my favorite. Again, if you're a visual team, it creates kind of a catalog view, and you can completely customize what you see here. So these are called cards. And let's say, for example, I only want to see the logo for each of my portfolios. I can hide all of the other information and just see my different portfolio logos. Or if it's important that I am able to see the launch date at a glance, I can create those as well. And you'll notice, just like in the calendar view, you can expand the record and see all of the details here, as well as make any changes that you would need directly within this expanded record. Another great view and a favorite of many of our users is called the Kanban view. And this is kind of a pipeline view. It allows you to stack the portfolios as cards by an owner or a status. I'm going to go ahead and stack them by status because I know that my portfolios are going to move through the phases of not started, being in progress, and being completed. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK there. And I'm going to collapse this uncategorized stack so I just see my pipeline. And let's say that portfolio 1, actually something came up, it's not quite complete, I want to drag it and move it back to being in progress. You can do the same drag and drop editing and updating easily from this view as well. Also similarly, you can customize your cards and what you see if you wanted to see more information. Last but definitely not least, we have a form view. This allows you to collect information in a structured way. When you submit a form, all of the fields will be automatically added as a new record in your base. You can customize the form here. For example, you can add a logo or a background image. Let's create an example form. We can call this our portfolio submission form. And we can say, please submit new portfolios here. You also have the option to make a question required, as well as add some help text. What is the name of your portfolio? If you don't want to include a specific field here because you don't want the user to submit it, or perhaps this is something that you will proactively fill in once the portfolio has been submitted, you can remove it just by dragging and dropping on the left. If you did want to add it back, you would simply drag and drop it back as well. Once you've created it, you can go ahead and share the form with stakeholders, and they can submit any new portfolio ideas they have. And every time they do, that portfolio will be added back here to your All Portfolios grid view. They can even save that link, and anytime they have a new portfolio to add, it can automatically be added back instead of having to constantly revisit the base itself. Now that we've walked through the variety of views we can create, it's important to note that you can personalize or lock a view. You do that by clicking this little cluster of people up here to the right of your view name. By personalizing a view, only you will be allowed to edit its configuration, which means which fields are shown or hidden, if records are grouped, filtered or sorted in a specific way, if there's color coding, or if you've changed your record height size. Locking a view allows you to lock the configuration of a view to other non-creator or non-owner level collaborators until it has been unlocked. Additionally, by clicking these three ellipses here, you have the options to rename a view, duplicate a view, copy another view's configuration. So if you really like how someone set up their specific view, what records they're showing, how they filtered it, you can copy that configuration as well. You can also download the information as a CSV, print it, or delete it. In addition to views, I also want to walk through how we can link or connect two tables together. Like we talked about in our base map, we're going to have nested relationships between which portfolios contain which projects, and then underneath projects, there are tasks. So for our example, we'll go ahead and connect the projects back to portfolios. So first, in projects, I'm going to define the fields that we want to track. Our primary field for this table, the primary subject, is going to be projects. And then to the right, let's go ahead and say we want to keep track of the owner. We'll use another collaborator field. You'll notice if you start typing in the field name, the field type will show up there in case you don't want to search through the scroll. We'll hit save here. And then we also want an indication if the project has been completed. And for that, we'll choose a checkbox. And I really like the thumbs up, and my favorite color is blue, so we're going to go with that. And then the last field that's important here is which portfolio the field, or the project, pardon me, falls under. So for this field, we're going to use a linked record field type. It's the first option here. And once you click on it, you'll see a pre-selected list of all of the tables you've already created. For us, we want to choose portfolios. When we click on this cell now, you'll see a pre-filled list of all of the portfolios we've created. Portfolios 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to fill in some example projects here. And we can go ahead and connect them back to the specific portfolios they fall under. I'll make myself the owner in a lot of them, and I'm using just general copy and paste, which does work really well within Airtable. I'm going to delete these rows by right-clicking and deleting these records. And then we'll mark some of these as complete, and we'll leave the rest incomplete. And now we can actually assign them to a specific portfolio. So when we click here, we can add the first couple here to the first portfolio, and then maybe the next two to the second. And then we'll add the last to portfolio 3. And once we've done that, we can even group to see which projects are assigned to which portfolio. So at a glance, you can see the portfolio and the projects assigned to it and quickly their status. And then when you come back to the portfolios table, you can see all of the projects assigned here. If you click on Project A, you're able to access the expanded record and see all of the details specific for that project. So you can see the information even from the portfolios table. You'll notice this white line here, which is showing which table this information is linking back to. And in the same way, you can make edits here. So let's say Project A actually has not yet been completed. We'll close that to save it. And when we come back to the projects table, the completion is gone. I also want to show you that you can add additional projects even from this portfolios table. So let's say I'm the portfolio manager and I'm thinking through all of the projects that need to be done within my portfolio in order to really help me bring it to launch. And portfolio 3 actually has an additional project, Project D. I can add a new record here. I'll add myself as the owner for this one. It has not yet been completed. And it's automatically linked to Portfolio 3 because I'm completing it from the Portfolios table in Portfolio 3's record. You'll notice now that I've added Project G there, if I come back to the Projects table, there will be a new record for Project G with the associated details. Wonderful. So now that we've gone through an example base and how we can build a base from scratch as well as the views, I'm going to transition over to a more built out base to highlight what else is possible. So give me just a second as I switch over to that base. Alrighty. So I've included some additional details here in this base. I'm going to start by walking us through the different tables so we can feel really oriented to what we're seeing here. The first table here, very similar to how we built our base from scratch, is the portfolios table. In this example, we have 2 portfolios, as well as a description of what they are meant to do, maybe their goals, the territories they are covering. This is our multiple select field type. So it's very similar to single select, but you can actually choose multiple things as opposed to just one. The logos, the team members who are working on each portfolio, the projects linked that fall under each portfolio, as well as some financial information that is really important for TableAir to track. So they want to know what their total budget is, as well as the total spend, so they can understand if there's any remaining budget for each portfolio. This little swirly symbol here indicates that this is a roll-up field type. And our roll-up field types and lookup field types actually allow us to look up information on other tables and pull it back over to this table, really enhancing that relationship once that linked record is created. You can see that by customizing the field type and seeing that it's pulling from the projects table, it's looking at the project budget, and it's summing it and showing it here in this field. In addition, formulas are very, very powerful in Airtable. If you're used to using formulas in a traditional spreadsheet application, you can definitely recreate them in Airtable and even enhance them. So I highly encourage experimenting with formulas as well. We have a projects table, and this table highlights all of the projects that fall under each portfolio. You'll notice here we're grouped by the portfolios that the projects fall in. We have descriptions as well as key dates, what priority the project falls under, as well as its current status, the team that's working on it, and the project budget. So this is what's feeding that total portfolio budget that we just looked at in that portfolios table. We're also seeing the spend to date, and that's coming from POs. So I know with portfolio management, it's very common to want to manage resource allocation, and this could be in the form of dollars, potentially employee hours. And you can do this by tracking something like POs or other budgetary, creating a potential budget field or table that allows you to track that information. We're using additional formulas here to calculate the remaining budget on the project level, as well as a quick visual way to check if a project is at or over budget with the emoji usage of a thumbs up or a siren. This is one of my favorite parts about Airtable, the fact that you can do that. We see the tasks that are underneath each project, as well as some summary fields here regarding each task, the number, as well as how many have been completed for the project, what percentage of complete we're at for this project, and some specific updates. So it may be helpful with your specific use case to make sure that the team can take notes, that those notes are highlighted, and using our long text field is a great way to do that. In addition to the projects table, we have a tasks table, which houses details around the related projects, who's been assigned, the task deadline, whether or not it's complete, and the relevant PO. Here in the POs table, in this grid view here, you can see all of the POs that have been submitted tied back to the task where it's relevant. I want to highlight another view here. We have a PO submission form. So this is a great example of when a form really comes in handy. Users can actually submit a PO via this form. It will attach it to the task and project where it's relevant, and it will automatically then be tied back to the budgeting. And lastly, we have a portfolio team table. Here we're dropped right into the team gallery view, which is, again, one of my favorites. This one's very colorful with our headshots, and it's a great way to see all of the team members involved in this workflow. With views, you could even embed them on your website. So if you wanted to manage your team roster, for example, and store that on your website, you can manage it in Airtable and then have it show up on your internal company website. There are a few other views here you'll notice, all very similar to the ones we created, but I'll just highlight a couple more of them here to serve as inspiration, hopefully give ideas. In the projects table, we've created views so you can just see Portfolio 1 projects or Portfolio 2 projects. We also have the calendar here. We're looking at a 2-week time frame, and this is an example of where we're plotting duration. We're still coloring by status, but we're plotting the beginning of the project and the end of the project as the date range, as opposed to just showing the date points. Again, you can expand the record and see all of the relevant details, as well as any information in a linked record too. So if you wanted to see the details of the task, you could click in and see the expanded record for that task as well. Wonderful. We also have the Kanban view. So this is that pipeline view, which we visited earlier, that allows you to see all of the projects in this case in their pipeline and what their status is. So again, if you wanted to go ahead and change the status, you could just simply drag and drop it. Now that we've gone through the information and what is included in the base, I hope everyone feels oriented to what they're seeing here. I want to spend some time with our blocks platform. You can think of blocks as mini applications that allow us to visualize, analyze, and interact with the information in our base in a way that lets us really draw insights from it that are important to our team. My favorite use case for the blocks with portfolio management is for reporting. So it's very common that for portfolio management, reporting is incredibly important. You want to be able to not only see in a grid view what is happening with all of the portfolios, but also be able to see high-level insights based on all of the portfolios you're managing. And these insights may be delivered to the broader team or even to your exec team. So we are going to use blocks to generate dashboards dynamically that help keep everyone up to date and aligned. You can access the blocks platform in the upper right-hand corner here. And you can even see a full list of available blocks by clicking on this Add a Block button. I definitely encourage you, if you're on the Pro plan and have access to the blocks, or if you're not quite on the Pro plan but want to explore the blocks, to potentially consider it. Taking a look through the full menu, we have quite a few and they're really fun. If you do find a block that you are interested in and you want to learn more about it, you can click on the block and you'll see some helpful visuals here at the top to kind of show what other users have done to add the block to their base, as well as a brief description of the block and the ability to directly add it to your base. I'm going to go ahead and expand this dashboard here. So this collection of blocks together is called a dashboard. You can create multiple dashboards in the upper left-hand corner here, which is great if you're reporting to multiple audiences. So potentially you want to have a dashboard that serves for your weekly team meetings where you can at a high level see the really nitty-gritty information that's happening in your portfolio. And potentially you want to have a dashboard that's reserved for some of that higher level reporting. You can have several here, and then just like views, switch between them in the upper left-hand corner. So I'm going to highlight some of the blocks that are, in my mind, some of the best that come in handy for this ability to draw insights. One of the first and most popular is our chart block. You can edit it by clicking on this gear icon here, and you'll see that you can actually tell the block where you want it to pull from on the right here. So this is kind of where you design the block. You tell it which table you want it to pull from. So you'll see the tables that we've created. This one is pulling from tasks, which specific view you want it to pull from. So maybe you have a view that's only active tasks and you only want this block to highlight the active tasks, not the archived ones. You can choose that. You can also choose your chart type. So we have all sorts to pick from, line, scatter, pie, donut, a whole bunch of fun ones there. And then you define the different axes. So on the x-axis, I want to show which projects are complete, yes or no. And then the y-axis is simply counting the number of projects that are complete. So we have 4 total here and 2 total here that have not yet been complete. These are grouped by the project that they're related to. So we have 1 task related to the product expansion project, 3 related to the 2019 reallocation project, and 1 related to the new market entry that has not been complete, and 1 on product expansion that has not been complete. You can update this information here. So if we took the group out of it, we would just see the total numbers, and it would automatically update based on how you're toggling and customizing the chart here on the right. So I'm going to go ahead and click done for that one. This block is showing you a summary number. So if there's something really important that you want to call out and you want it to be immediately, the eye goes there when you open your dashboard. In Table Layer's instance, we're looking at the projects that are high priority but not yet finished, because we definitely want to get those done. So this is showing a number from within your tables. We have another chart that's showing the portfolio overview by project and priority. And another one of my favorites is the pivot table. So it is edited in a very similar way as the chart by indicating which table and view you want to pull from, and then defining what row and column you want. This one is showing the number of tasks by assignee per project. So this is a really great way to get that summary information in a dynamically visual sense directly from your dashboard. A few others I'll highlight. We have an international time one if you have offices in other places and you want to just at a glance know what time it is there so you can know if you can reach out to them or not. We also have a map block, which is a really cool way to see potentially where those different offices are located. We also have a few new ones I want to highlight. So one is the embed block, and this allows you to embed a URL directly into your dashboard. In my case, I've embedded that PO submission form. So potentially if a teammate wants to come in, they know they need to submit a PO, and they can come right to this block and submit it here. Or you could embed things like videos, maybe a walkthrough of this space and how to use it. Maybe there are product pages really relevant to the content in your base. You can embed other base views directly here contextually, so you're looking at it with your base. The Gantt chart is also one that has recently launched and is really exciting. It allows you to see visually the tasks or projects or portfolios on a timeline, in addition to highlighting any dependencies that may be needed in order to actually complete the flow of tasks. So this one is showing those tasks, and I've grouped it by the projects that they fall under. And these arrows here are showing the dependencies. So task 1 must be completed before task 2, which must be completed before task 3. Something else I want to highlight here is if you go ahead and click on the record, you can expand it and you can see the information, all of the details that we could access in all of the other expanded records as well. So this is a great way, even from within your blocks, to be able to make edits and updates. And last but definitely not least, my favorite block, which is called Page Designer. So I'm going to go ahead and expand this block. And what you'll see here is a customized layout that pulls dynamically from your base. So we've created this layout of the different fields in your base. And when you click through Next Records, it's dynamically updating based on the information that you've already filled in. So this is a great way to potentially replace having to build out multiple slides that provide status updates for each portfolio. This is dynamically showing all of those portfolio details automatically because you've already entered the information into your base. You can edit the layout, and you'll notice on the left here, you have all of the fields that are included in your portfolio table. If you wanted to add an element, so perhaps a static text element that says table air, you can go ahead and add it. You can drag it to where you want it to be. Make it a little bigger here. And then you can, oops, got to send that one backwards. You can update the formatting as well. So let's make this font a little bigger. We'll increase the weight, make it a little bit bold. We'll go ahead and align it here. And we'll make the text color white. And now that I've done that, this static element is going to be present whenever I move through my records. So it's a great way to set up your report from the beginning and then have it dynamically populate based on all of the work you've already done. We've seen users really like this for meeting updates, again, for some of that more slide or PDF report outs. It's a great way to kind of visualize your information differently. Wonderful. I hope this has been a helpful overview as you're getting started with Airtable and portfolio management. I'd recommend spending some time with the Blocks platform to help with reporting, really coming up with those dashboards that allow you to pull those insights that are important for your team. You can play with those custom views that we talked about as well to discover how you want to visualize the information to keep everyone aligned, as well as what's most important for your specific workflow. And last but not least, definitely check out all those different field types to standardize and define the information you want to keep in your base. I'm going to go ahead and hop out of this demo here and hop back to my slides. Give me just a second. Wonderful. Great. Thank you so much for tuning into this demo. I had a great time going over the portfolio management use case with you. Before we open it up, I do want to take a minute and discuss some of the resources available to you as you build with Airtable. Support.airtable.com has incredible articles, reference materials, videos on the features of Airtable. There are tours of the product, videos that do walkthroughs, very similar to what we did today. And it's an incredible, incredible resource. Definitely recommend checking it out. In addition to those templates and universe pages that we mentioned before. Also, if you have any questions, you can reach out to support@airtable.com. Thank you so much for joining today, and I hope to see you all next time. And if there are a few questions, I will go ahead and take them now.